So I'm a couple of days late on this story, but I figure I really want to talk about it and cover it because I did talk about it a couple of weeks ago, and this is a pretty interesting follow-up to a theory I had that I think is going to come true. So Zack Snyder, who of course directed the Justice League Snyder Cut, posted a sneak preview of the JL Snyder Cut on Twitter, and they're going to reveal more at the DC Fandom event, which is going to be, I think, in August, and they're going to reveal some other stuff there for other projects and whatnot. But the big one down the pipeline, now that it actually has a budget, is going to be the Justice League Zack Snyder Cut. Because there's a lot of shots in the film, hours of footage literally that was unmastered, unfinished. And now I think Snyder and his team and other people are going in and fixing up the footage, editing it, giving it special effects. It'll take some time before it actually gets done. But he posted a sneak preview of a scene that was not in the theatrical Justice League film, and a scene that really does open up the universe of the DCEU for what's to come, and it gives us a glimpse into what Snyder had planned before he left the project. So let's take a look at this clip real quick, and then I'll give you my thoughts on what's going on.
The bell's already been rung.
Just so to clarify, that's Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor, and what he's saying is the bells have already been rung, which is what he said at the end of Batman v Superman when he teased that after Superman died, that now the entire universe is aware of his death, and that's going to leave the Earth vulnerable to attack, which is what ends up leading to Steppenwolf coming to Earth. So this is, of course, Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, in this sort of cavern here, and she's doing some research on what we'll find out in a minute.
And they've heard it.
Again, this shot was not in the movie, and there's a lot of things that aren't in the movie that were not in the movie that are going to be in this version.
In the dark, among the stars.
That is our first official look at Darkseid, and I had talked about how Snyder's original plan was to do 2 Justice League films, and presumably, part 1 and part 2. And part 1 was supposed to end with a cliffhanger, and Steppenwolf was supposed to be the villain of part 1, which would eventually lead to Darkseid being the villain of part 2, and really being the true villain of this whole, Justice League story. I don't know if they were going to give him the Thanos build-up, where he would have been a villain that they would have had to deal with across multiple films, but now that they're going to go back and sort of remake this movie, because that's really the best way to describe it. It's not a real remake, but it is kind of a remake. I still believe, and we're going to look at this a little bit deeper here, I still believe that if this film takes off, if the Justice League Snyder Cut is really popular and people really like it, it's going to become the canon version of the DCEU story, right, of Justice League. The Joss Whedon version's not going to be, it'll be forgotten about. I mean, not literally, but it just won't be discussed anymore. And this will be the actual story, and I do think that if it does well, that they'll eventually greenlight the sequel and bring in Darkseid and actually tell that story. Because there's no way they would tease this. There is no way they would tease Darkseid coming if they didn't have a plan. And we've heard all these rumors about Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck coming back to reportray their characters, maybe for one last hurrah. Even though the Henry Cavill rumor seems to be multiple cameo appearances for multiple movies, for something like this, they're going to have to come back and really make an actual whole new movie, because I don't think Darkseid is going to be the villain of Justice League, the Snyder Cut, but I think he will be teased throughout the film. Now, if they actually go back in and just totally reshoot some stuff to make him the villain, that's interesting and unexpected, but I don't foresee that happening. I think they're going to put all the teases back in, though, because they know they have more to come.
Mm.
And that is a creepy image of Darkseid, yo. That is creepy, and it actually looks very accurate to the comic book version of Darkseid. And for those who don't know, Darkseid, the New Gods, he is basically one of, if not the main villain of the Justice League. Like, he is like the intergalactic threat to the Justice League. He is, their version of Thanos in many ways. They're not identical characters, but there's a lot of similarities. And, we had always kind of thought they were going to eventually do Darkseid, and here is the proof that they had that plan the whole time.
Ding dong. The god
And she's all freaking out over it. She doesn't know what the hell she's looking at.
is dead.
Now, this shot right here is crazy, yo. This is a very intricate special effects shot. I'm not sure if this was shot before Snyder left the project or if it was shot like, like if it was created like then and it wasn't finished and now he's finishing it. We don't have details on any of this yet, but I do think that DC will come out with a documentary going into detail about that. But if you take a look right here, that is Darkseid right there and his army. So this is presumably a flashback scene. We did hear about tons of flashback scenes that are going to be put back into the film, including more stuff with the lanterns and things like that. So all these rumors that had been going around for years and years and years about what was cut out of the movie, a lot of them seem to be true. And this is interesting right here because there we see Darkseid. There is no way that they are teasing this without having plans. Now, I'm not saying they're actually going to do that sequel, but I think if this Justice League Snyder Cut is successful, because they're putting money into this thing, real money, and HBO Max sees a surge in subscribers and things like that, and the movie does well, and maybe they put it out on Blu-ray afterward, maybe then people will buy it and it does well there, then yes, I definitely think they're going to give Snyder one more shot to make Justice League Part 2. I totally see it happening. He'll be able to tell his story, and don't forget, there's a lot of stuff in this film also about Superman being evil for a much longer period of time than he was in the theatrical cut. It's like 4 hours, so there is a lot of stuff that was cut from this movie. And I'm very curious to see what else was cut besides what we heard about because we don't know about everything. It's a lot of hours of footage. So I, for one, am excited, believe it or not. I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder fan, but Darkseid has always been a character that I wanted to see on screen since I was a kid, and that portrayal of him in that shot looks really accurate to how Darkseid is. So if they get that character right, at the very least it'll be, I guess, I don't want to say an improvement, but it'll be a positive when it comes to the Snyderverse of DC. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments, and yeah, Darkseid is coming. Ooh, should be cool, I hope.